Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mordecai the Hunter, and today I wanted to take a minute to talk about my main match rifle and the modifications that I have done to it. This here is a Winchester 1873 replica, chambered in .357, made by Uberti and imported by Cimarron Repeating Arms. I believe they call this model the Deluxe Short Rifle, but the name does change depending on what website you're on, so just be sure to read the description if you're looking for something specific. Alrighty, so we'll start back here with the stock. This model comes with the checkered pistol grip, which of course I had to have to match my shotgun, and there's a crescent butt plate back here under the leather cover. There is a competition version with a shotgun style stock, which is flat instead of curved, but it doesn't have the pistol grip. Straight stocks are also pretty common, and some even have fancy wood and checkering. I might say pistol grip stocks fit me better, but I think realistically it's just an aesthetic difference. Anyway, I like how it looks, and I think that confidence makes me shoot better, so I'm rolling with it. I did also make this leather cover to match my shotgun, but you can always just buy one or go without if you don't have the time or desire. Lots of cowboys are hobby leatherworkers, so if you want to make your own but don't know where to get started, just ask around in your club. Moving on, the first actual modification I'll point out here was to grind down the lever lock, which is normally right here. On stock guns, this is just a little piece of metal that rotates and holds the lever in place. Now, I've never had one turn around on me, but I have seen it happen to other people. The timer goes off, everything's going great, and then they pick up the rifle and the lever won't open. Ah! So, to make sure this never happens to me, I like to remove them. You can buy a replacement plug, or it's pretty easy to grind down with a belt sander or a Dremel tool, and it's one less thing to worry about on the stage. Moving up to the receiver, the first thing I'll point out is that it does look like the previous owner has switched out the side plates. Probably because they were personally engraved or something like that. Side plates don't really affect performance, so I'm not super worried about it. Maybe I'll get mine engraved someday. Next, I want to point out the straight trigger here. The standard trigger is usually set farther back and curved, where this one is set much farther forward. When I'm trying to run my rifle quickly, I like to start putting pressure on the trigger as I'm closing the lever so that the hammer drops as soon as it is closed. Now, this all works because of the lever safety, which is this little guy right here. The block behind the trigger is connected to this little post here, which must be pushed into the frame by the lever before the hammer will drop and the gun will fire. Now, you can do this with a standard trigger as well, but with a flat trigger being farther forward, you don't have to move your finger as far, and you're less likely to stab yourself. A common injury for cowboy shooters is that when they bring their hand back, they have their finger too low, and it gets caught between the bottom of the trigger and the lever. And because you're trying to go as fast as possible, they end up skewering their finger with the sharp end of the trigger, and it looks like zero fun. Since we were here playing with the lever, the reason it doesn't travel as far as a stock gun is that it has a short stroke kit installed. I believe this is a 4th gen Cowboys and Indians kit because the links and lever have been replaced. It is shorter than the cut and weld rifle that I had previously, but it does take more effort to move the lever, so there's kind of a bit of a trade-off. I don't want to get too into the weeds on the difference between a cut and weld and kits, but both are pretty common, so ask around your club and you can find samples of both. Another internal upgrade that I'll just tell you about since I'm too lazy to take off the side plates is the Whisper lever springs. Not sure I would say they are better than regular springs tuned by a gunsmith, but it does seem like a good option if you like dropping parts. The gun also came with an aluminum carrier, which I've heard mixed reviews on, but mine works fine, and again, it seems like a good option if you don't want to part with your rifle. For the record, I had my smith tune the mainspring, but the hammer and bolt assembly are stock. Anyway, I think that covers all the upgrades in the receiver. We'll move on to the barrel here, which kind of looks like it was refinished with some kind of fancy chameleon thing, but it's pretty worn now, so I guess at this point it just has character. This barrel is a full Octagon 20-inch barrel, and as I mentioned earlier, chambered in .357 Magnum. Though obviously for cost and safety reasons, most cowboys just shoot .38 special rounds. I like the weight and balance at this length, but one additional perk is that you can actually load an 11th round into the magazine on the clock. The rifles with 18-inch barrels have shorter magazines, and depending on the gun and overall length of the rounds, some folks can't load 11, or at least it's more difficult. There aren't a whole lot of stages where you need 11 rounds and you get to load it before you start the rifle string, but it does happen and I like having options. Moving on to the sights here, the previous owner added a big faux ivory front sight that I really like for being able to see and get on target quickly. I wasn't so sure about the rear sight at first, but it's definitely grown on me. It's a flat sight with a small indent in the middle to help you index. You can see that there. Because there aren't any horns on the side, it doesn't obscure my vision when I'm moving laterally from one target to another, so I can really fly when I'm doing sweeps. Anyway, I think that covers everything. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or want to hear about something I didn't bring up. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see y'all on the range.